One of the things that I think is absolutely magical about flying is the ability to go above the clouds. It's like this feeling of being in heaven. I was very lucky recently to have the opportunity to fly in a plane. Terry from the Short Field YouTube channel very kindly offered to take me up in his sport cruiser. He flew over to Little Granson and took me up above the clouds, gave me the controls, and had a little flight in his plane. So thanks so much, Terry, for that. Absolutely loved it. But I've also been up in the Paramotor and just wanted to contrast the two. I don't know how you feel about clouds, but I just love being above.
Yeah, me too. Best place.
On a Paramotor, see that cloud over there? We'll just fly over the top and then dive down between that little gap and just play
up amongst the cauliflowers.
Remember my first flight on the Paramotor when I got above the clouds, I actually got really emotional. It's just like, wow, this is incredible. Which one is best? Which one did I enjoy the most? Which one did I prefer? So what I thought I'd do is go through the good points and bad points of being in a Paramotor and a plane with regards to being above the clouds. Let's start with Paramotors and the good. So one of the brilliant things about the Paramotor is you have a completely unrestricted view. So there's no cockpit, there are no wings that are shielding you from the view from above. So once you get above the clouds, it's like you have a chair in the sky. It's just absolutely incredible. So I love that. It gives you this feeling of total freedom, and it's a really, really good platform for taking photos. So I really enjoy taking photos. I've enjoyed taking photos my whole life, and to be able to do this from a Paramotor above the clouds is just a dream come true for me. So that's the main benefit of a Paramotor, really. The other one is if you go up and there are lots of little fluffy clouds below 3,000 feet, you can get close to the cloud, and the low speed of a Paramotor allows you to kind of play around in the clouds and do wingovers and steep turns around the clouds and just play around. That's not really possible in a plane, so really enjoy that. Now, Paramotors, they're not so good. If you get to 5,000 feet in the winter, it can be pretty cold, so you need to have heated gloves, lots of very warm layers, and it can be quite a challenge to stay up for very long in the winter. So from that point of view, not good. Paramotors can be very noisy, although we do wear ear protection. It's just not the same as planes can be noisy too, but paramotors are particularly noisy because you're outside. Sometimes when I'm flying high up, if I'm above cloud and I'm at say 5,000 or 6,000 feet, I do feel quite vulnerable at a high altitude. So in a plane you have the transponder. I'll talk about all the good points of a plane in a minute, but in a Paramotor you can feel vulnerable. I do have a thing called a Sky Echo 2, which is like an ADS-B transponder, and I do have a strobe, but the power of the Paramotor strobe is no match for a plane. So I do feel slightly vulnerable. Paramotors don't have very good comms, so we can use radio a bit like planes, but we don't have the large aerials that planes have. There are other solutions as well, such as this Sena Bluetooth system, which can be quite good one-to-one if you're close to your friends. Again, but it's just not that great.
I see you Phil now. I couldn't see you before. I'll do a circuit.
The other thing is the low speed of a Paramotor means that if you want to get above the clouds, you either have to climb 5,000 feet. Paramotors are not that fast at climbing, or you have to drive. So in a plane you can take off and do 100 knots or whatever it is and fly to a cloudy area where you can get above and enjoy the cloud. But in a Paramotor, the maximum speed is 30 miles an hour, so it can take a while to get there. And the last thing is that takeoffs in a Paramotor can be tricky. So you need to be perfectly lined up into wind. It needs to be on a very fine day. Usually Paramotor pilots will fly dawn or dusk, and at that time cloud tends to thin out. So it can be difficult actually to find suitable flying conditions where flying above cloud is possible. The best time of day is when the thermals are at their maximum. You get all the fluffy clouds are forming, and that is the most violent time of day for a paramotor. So we have to be very selective really on when we do it. Winter, I found winter tends to be better for being above a cloud, but then you get very cold. Right, so let's look at planes. So the good thing about being in a plane is, first of all, it's more comfortable. You have a nice seat to sit in. Paramotors are quite comfortable actually, despite the look. But in terms of, you're warm, you have a cockpit around you, you haven't got wind blowing in your face. And in a paramotor, you've got a constant 30 mile an hour wind in your face, whether you're flying upwind, downwind, crosswind, whatever. It's always there. You're more conspicuous in a plane. So you've got your bright strobe, you've got your transponder, so you're much more visible to other aircraft. So you're not constantly worried about hitting something. Planes, from what I've seen anyway, I'm not a plane pilot, but from what I've seen, planes are easy takeoffs. There's something like 1 in 100 or 1 in 200 takeoffs you would abort, but in a paramotor it tends to be higher than that. And the range and speed, as I said earlier, means that clouds are much more easily accessible to planes, and you have better instrumentation. So in a paramotor we tend to either use our phones or very rudimentary GPS devices, but planes have much better instrumentation to help you locate the cloud or to aid in any kind of disorientation if you find yourself being stranded above. So the not so good things about planes really is kind of the inverse of the paramotor. So you can take photos from a plane, but I think the paramotor wins here because you've got the canopy, you've got the wings, the cockpit. They all kind of restrict your view, and you can't really play around in a plane. It's kind of, you're flying straight and level unless you're in an aerobatic plane like an Extra 300 or a Pitts Special. Playing around in the clouds is not quite the same as a paramotor. You can really turn hard around all the clouds in a paramotor, which is not something you can experience in a plane, in my opinion. And I think in a plane you kind of feel slightly detached in comparison to a paramotor. In a paramotor you're literally out there in the clouds. It just feels like you're in a chair in the clouds. So I think the paramotor wins there. So in summary then, what do I think is best? What I'd like is for you to let me know in the comments below which one you prefer. My personal feeling is, in terms of flying around the clouds, I much prefer the paramotor. But it does have, you do need to be wrapped up well, you do need to be warm, have your transponder on, and if it's getting towards sunset, keep your strobe on as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, hit that like button, and hope to see you in the next one.